The following tape is a segment originating from Ed Parker's videos on advanced concepts and principles of Kenpo. It is the first tape of his series on sophisticated basics, which stresses methods of study as well as intricacies of stances. As you view the material, take note of the methods used to create interest in viewing Ed Parker's Kenpo from new and varied perspectives. Comprehending the relationship of precise categorizing of basic ingredients, you will make conscious of the importance of progressive learning as well as recognize the value of Ed Parker's unique discoveries. As a result of his findings, his system has undeniably been recognized as American Kenpo. Let us now hear from Senior Grandmaster Ed Parker himself.
Hi, I'm Ed Parker. I've organized the following material on basics into what I feel is a logical and sequential order of priorities to ensure viewer comprehension. Prioritize subjects in their proper order is a means of increasing retention. American Kenpo is divided into three major divisions: basics, self-defense, and freestyle or sparring. Each are further broken down into subdivisions. Technically speaking, basics are all physical moves or gestures executed with specific intent or purpose. Depending upon how these moves or gestures are employed, they can be defensive, offensive, or can accomplish both purposes simultaneously. When applied, they can be used to oppose, ride, borrow, or steal force, feint, sprain, dislocate, fracture, rupture, maim, rip, tear, claw, hoof, poke, slice, rake, buckle, check, maneuver, trip, grab, lock, twist, pinch, butt, bite, throw, pull, along with numerous other accomplishments. Stated differently, basics are the fundamentals of Kenpo that aid in the development of the mind and body in its preparation for physical combat. Like other fields of learning, its roots stem from a logical and systematic foundation. Paralleling our written language, each move learned, whether defensive or offensive, can be considered an alphabet of motion. When alphabets of motion are combined, they form words of motion. Combinations of words of motion then form sentences of motion. Through my many years of experience, I have developed methods to aid you in your understanding of basics. As mentioned previously, comparable rudiments of our spoken language can be employed to boost our understanding of Kenpo. Learning moves in isolated steps is like learning words phonetically. For example, when we learn to pronounce the words cat, bat, and rat, we learn to say them phonetically as cat-at, bat-at, and rat. This method of pronouncing and enunciating our words taught us how to become articulate with our vocabulary. Likewise, motion learned in isolated steps teaches us to become articulate with our movements. It teaches us how to pronounce each move correctly, distinctly, and consistently. Only after thoroughly learning each move phonetically can we combine moves to formulate words of motion, sentences of motion, and even paragraphs of motion. Another method that can be employed is by the numbers. Teaching basics via phonetics is like teaching movements by the numbers. Utilizing this method accentuates correct hand or foot positions. It additionally teaches the value of torque, complete utilization of body weight, and all other factors necessary to complete and or maximize a move. The by the number method is not to be used in a realistic situation. Once your moves are learned phonetically and maximum power is experienced, numbered stages are eliminated and direct action takes precedent. Just as we do not speak to each other phonetically on a daily basis, likewise, phonetics of motion are also dropped during the course of higher learning and or actual combat. Another method is the use of the clock principle. I use a number of visual aids, tangible as well as intangible, to make learning easier. One method is the use of the clock principle. This is a mental visual aid used to teach you the proper positioning of your feet and hands in the performance of your basics, forms, or they call it basics in motion, self-defense techniques, freestyle techniques, etc. For example, before starting a form, you'll be asked to picture yourself standing in the middle of a large clock that has been placed on the floor. The wall you face when first starting represents 12 o'clock. To your right, 3 o'clock. Directly behind of you, 6 o'clock. And to your left, 9 o'clock. As you move from your starting position, you are to mentally picture where the other numbers on the clock are, thus giving you a more precise sense of direction when performing. This principle also applies while learning self-defense techniques. 12 o'clock is the starting direction, regardless of where the attack stems from, flank, rear, or otherwise. To use another example, you may be facing 12 o'clock with your opponent attacking you from 3 o'clock. You may be taught to have your left foot step back to 9 o'clock as you face your opponent who's attacking from 3 o'clock. 3 viewpoints are involved here. The original direction in which you were facing, that's 12 o'clock, the angle from which your opponent attacked you, that was 3 o'clock, and the correct position of your foot, 9 o'clock, which is necessary to thwart the attack. In short, the clock principle is a directional reference used to aid you in selecting the proper direction when attacked, retaliating, or working your basics. To further enhance retention, I employ the mathematic and geometric symbol concepts. These are visual aids that can be used tangibly or intangibly using actual illustrations so that you can see it, or through verbalizing a mental picture instead. There are 3 mathematic and 3 geometric symbols that can enhance your learning. The 3 mathematic symbols are the minus sign, used in subtraction, the plus sign, used in addition, and the time sign, used in multiplication. The 3 geometric symbols are the circle, square, and triangle. All of these symbols will be used periodically throughout my videos to simplify your learning. Both mathematic and geometric symbol concepts and the clock principle can be used interchangeably, thus providing similar results and benefits. For example, visualize yourself standing again in the middle of a big clock. As you'll notice, a line drawn from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock will give you a minus sign. Superimpose it with a line from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock and it will create a plus sign. Draw a straight line from midpoint of 7 and 8 to midpoint of 1 and 2, then superimpose a straight line from midpoint of 10 and 11 to midpoint of 4 and 5, and you will have a times or multiplication sign. Connect all of the numbers with an arc, and you will have a circle. Draw 4 lines within the clock circumference, and you will develop a square. Divide the square in half from corner to corner, and you will form 2 triangles, which could be condensed to 1. Another value that the clock, mathematic, and geometric concepts offer, other than aiding you in determining proper angles and directions, is the help it gives you in proportionately fitting the art to the specific measurements of your anatomy. Examples of proportionately fitting the art to the specific measurements of your anatomy will be demonstrated in this tape. A more sophisticated visual aid encompassing all of these methods, in addition to others, can be found in the universal pattern. This pattern is the most important catalyst contributing to my creative knowledge. Through it and by it, I've been able to extensively structure American Kenpo. It has opened up untold avenues that have given me answers beyond my comprehension. Because of it, I have learned to effortlessly convert embryonic moves to sophisticated moves, and to differentiate between the terms opposite and reverse, especially when applying them defensively as well as offensively. To get a trifle idea of how it can be applied, visualize yourself in the middle of a completed universal pattern. As you can observe, the directions, angles, and orbits that you can pursue are numerous. If you were to take 1/9 of the pattern, pull out some of the smaller patterns contained within, a number of benefits can be derived. There are overlapping circles using both arms, which can be used as an exercise or employed on a partner. The horizontal figure 8 using a single arm can also be used as an exercise or employed on a partner. Following a path of action from an extended outward block into an inward forearm block, use a pattern of a shaded square. As you can observe from the few samples shown, it would take a number of tapes to explain the universal pattern in its entirety. However, other applications can be viewed throughout my series of tapes. I am convinced that basics can be more thoroughly understood, be of greater value, and be more quickly learned if teaching methods encouraged analyzing and comparing past and present life experiences. When you can relate to something or some concept that you're already familiar with, basics become easier to learn. Your having experienced that concept in another field, related or not, easy substitution of your newly learned skill. The principles employed in a game of family billiards is a good example. The 3 major principles are: 1, proper alignment, to sink the ball of your choice into the pocket of your choice using the cue stick and ball. 2, to contemplate positioning the cue ball so that it will again be aligned to make the next shot easy. And 3, should your winning streak end, have the ability to place the cue ball in an awkward position to disallow your opponent from making a clear shot. To cite another example, let us examine the study of our alphabets. We have learned that alphabets can be written in uppercase or lowercase. Of interest, defensive and offensive movements are comparably applied. Let us examine a left punch to a head followed by a right punch to your stomach. To defend yourself, let us use a right extended outward block to the left punch and a right inside downward elbow block to the right punch. You'll find that the blocks are much faster and safer than if we were to use our right fist to block the punches. The parallel here is that the high extended outward block is an uppercase movement, whereby the second block is a lowercase movement. As the examples demonstrated, when your new experiences and or concepts parallel your old, you can be assured that you're getting closer to understanding the concepts of American Kenpo. Another unique teaching technique, which I often employ while teaching basics, is the rearrangement concept. Since many are only interested in obtaining sufficient knowledge of how to cope with average encounters, the rearrangement concept works well. The concept teaches you how 4 basic moves through the rearrangement process can produce 24 possible combinations without using the same combination twice. Knowledge of the rearrangement concept is important because there are no 2 situations exactly alike in a confrontation. Therefore, to have a set sequence of moves in mind when counting your opponent is unrealistic. The rearrangement concept makes it capable for you to blend with the action as it occurs, even though your knowledge of moves may be limited. It is expansion of your limited knowledge that will give you the edge. There are 2 rearrangement concepts, the numerical and the alphabetical. The formula in calculating how the numerical rearrangement concept works using 4 moves are as follows. 1 times 2 equals 2. 2 times 3 equals 6. And 6 times 4 equals 24. If you wanted to determine the number of combinations that 5 moves would produce, then multiply 5 times 24, which will give you an answer of 120. 6 times 120 is equal to 720, etc. Please view the tape to see how this concept is applied. To best understand how the numerical rearrangement concept works, let us examine a self-defense technique containing 4 moves and assign each move a number from 1 to 4, assuming that the sequence of 4 moves flows without interruption. Let us assign number 1 to a right inward block executed on the inside of your opponent's right punch. Number 2 to a right chop executed to the right side of your opponent's neck. Number 3 to a right inward horizontal elbow strike to the left side of your opponent's jaw. And number 4 to a right back downward hammer fist strike to your opponent's groin. This sequential flow of movements can be extremely effective if your opponent responds to your action and makes no effort to intentionally or unintentionally obstruct your flow of 4 sequential movements. Let us assume that an opponent does make an effort to defend himself by placing his left hand in a guarding position. If this occurs, let us now see how we can still use the same 4 moves by exercising a simple sequential change employing the numerical rearrangement concept to make it work. Although the sequence of movements will be altered, an uninterrupted flow can still be obtained despite of your opponent's attempt to protect himself. The first move is the same with one exception. Your opponent's left hand is in a guarding position. From move number 1, you can shift into move number 4, then move number 3, and conclude with move number 2. Needless to say, Other combinations could be used effectively. The alphabetical rearrangement concept follows the same format used in the formation of words. Letters picked from our alphabetical system, when properly arranged, can create words that are familiar to us. Like the numerical rearrangement concept, limited knowledge of the complete alphabetical system can still prove effective if the rearrangement concept is thoroughly understood. For instance, if you were to only learn the alphabet from A to G, you can still benefit from this limited knowledge, provided you learn that from these 7 letters of the alphabet, you can create words such as add, dab, ace, face, fed, fad, deaf, etc. When each of these 7 letters are used more than once, words such as deed, dad, feed, etc. can then be created. As you can observe, you can create a surprisingly large number of words, even though your knowledge of the alphabets may be limited. This and the succeeding videos in this series describe the 5 major categories of basics that comprise American Kenpo. They are stances, maneuvers, blocks, strikes, and specialized moves and methods. Of the first 4 major divisions, stances are literally postures of defense and offense. Maneuvers are methods of travel and or body positioning to enhance defense or offense. Blocks are methods of defense. And strikes are methods of offense. The 5th division identifies those moves and methods that cannot be categorized under the first 4 divisions and that unquestionably contain individual characteristics of their own. Stances form the foundation of all self-defense and freestyle moves. As we explore them, they are divided into the attention, horse, bow and arrow, kneel, cat, twist, one-leg stance, and specialized. Although the stances in American Kenpo may seem unnatural and contrary to conventional methods, they are, nevertheless, relevant against strikes delivered below as well as above the waistline. Stance considerations also encompass the possibility of multiple attacks. Many benefits can be derived from stances. They improve balance, give automatic protection to vulnerable areas, can be used to increase or decrease distance, aid in increasing one's power, assist in buckling, checking, or breaking an opponent's leg, allows for greater maneuverability, enhances an individual's peripheral vision, and much more. Stances can be learned in a variety of ways. The simplest procedure is to learn stationary stances. This method allows you to concentrate on upper body movements only. To include coordinated moves with the lower half of the body when first learning can be frustrating and discouraging. From stationary stances, you must then progress to stance changes while in place. This phase of training incorporates shifting your weight to 1, increase range, thus making distance an ally, or to 2, decrease existing range to help increase power, or crowd and jam your opponent. The feet in no way moves other than pivoting from one type of stance to another. The desired distance in either case is determined by the position of the upper body. As observed, In-place stance changes significantly reduces time and contributes to economy of motion. It also increases your ability to counter and attack. The third method is learning stances while moving. When this occurs, they can also be classified as foot and body maneuvers, depending upon what you wish to accomplish. And as circumstances dictate, you can walk, cross over, cross back, slide, shuffle, hop, skip, jump, or leap with them. When combining these methods, stances can be lost in transition, since they are not intended to be held for any length of time, except to help the flow of motion. However, if you were to isolate each move, specific stances would be distinguishable. Through continuous practice, you will execute stance changes in motion with balance, poise, and power. Ultimately, you'll also learn to relax, maintain correct form, and move with effortless speed. Each stance must be tailored to the width, depth, and height of each individual. Ways of discovering the proper width, depth, and height of each stance, employing the mathematic and geometric symbol concept, will be described and demonstrated in this tape. Study these methods thoroughly. They will aid you in making each stance work more effectively for you.